Hey guys, this was an awesome podcast with Matthew, the 50 Dates, 50 States. Unfortunately, there is some cutting out of the audio, so just keep that in mind, but enjoy. All right, guys, welcome back to the Terry Lacey Twins podcast.
And today our guest is the creator of 50 Dates, 50 States, Matthew Wernig, the Bachelor of TikTok.
Hey, there we go.
Welcome
I love
on.
it. Hey, thanks, guys. I'm happy to be on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And it actually occurred to me. I didn't really think of it at the time, but was Valentine's Day, since what is it, 1 day, 2 days past Valentine's Day? Were you doing interviews for Valentine's Day?
I actually, well, I got to, it's funny, like Valentine's Day, I mean, I'm a single guy. Everybody's got their couples. And here I am traveling to Michigan to go on a date with a girl in every state. I felt like weird on Valentine's Day. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm starting this expedition to do this. What a day to start. But yesterday I did have, or not yesterday, it's Wednesday, right? Today's Wednesday?
Yes,
Yeah,
I believe so.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm getting the days confused. Yeah, so when I got to town Monday, in Bismarck, North Dakota, yeah, I had an interview on Valentine's Day there. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
did you plan to so you're in like kind of the new season, right?
Yeah. I haven't officially started it yet. I like to say it's like it is season 2 right now because it's like all the planning and the recruitment and the whole process of it. But I haven't officially like gone on any of the new dates. I will start that next Monday.
Okay.
Okay.
So still in the casting process.
Yeah.
Yep. And once I get to Michigan, which I should be getting there Friday, that's when I'll get squared away and started. Yeah, my first date's in Michigan.
Okay.
Nice.
Nice.
So just to kind of go from the beginning, how did you like come up with this idea, or how did it get started? Because I mean, this is a super like new, interesting idea.
Hey, yeah, thank you. So I basically started this when quarantine first happened and COVID first hit. Like nobody knew what was going on, and everybody's like at home, and and everybody's like kind of locked down and scared, and like everything started turning virtual. And so I was sitting there and I was on Tinder. You know, I was bored, and so I'm sitting there on Tinder, and I'm going through, and right when I opened the app though, the notification popped up and it said you could place your location anywhere in the U.S. for free. And I was like, oh, like that's interesting. And so I just I start dropping my location where I think all the honeys are, like L.A. and New York,
Right.
And I start when I started getting some matches, I'm like, well, I mean, what's the point? Like I can't, take these girls to dinner, or I can't go have a drink. I'm like, so what should I do? And then I was like, well, everything's turning virtual. Like, what if I try to get a match in every state? What if I try to go on a virtual date in every state? And so that's what I did. I went on a virtual date with a girl in every state, and then I just kept getting creative with it, and it snowballed into what it is now.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So did you make content before, or did you just kind of go all in? Was like, all right, this is what I'm gonna do.
I didn't make I didn't have any I remember when I started 50 Dates, 50 States, I didn't start anything with it like on TikTok or anything like that. And then I remember my dates, some of the dates I was going on, they were like, you should put this on TikTok. And I was like, yeah, maybe, I guess I'll try. And so I like was throwing darts at the dartboard. Like I look back at my old content and I'm like, oh my gosh, it just makes my skin crawl.
Yeah.
I'm like, I had no idea what I was doing. And like I would play around with TikTok here and there, like just for fun, not with 50 Dates, 50 States stuff, but like,
Right.
I didn't really know how it worked. And then I started to get a rhythm for it and a feel for it. And then was able to grow a following, and that really helped.
Okay.
Wow.
So yeah, that's interesting, because it's one thing to kind of make content in the comfort of your home and everything, but you really went out on a limb there and just kind of went all in, it seems like, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like I just kept like throwing darts at the dartboard, seeing what like stuck and what worked. And it was so weird because TikTok was so because I started that in like 2020. And I was and TikTok then was like so different than TikTok is now. And like creating content, and I would like throw a couple things on Instagram, and I recorded all my Zoom dates that I went on, so then I could like go through and cut up some clips that I thought were the most interesting. And the Zoom dates, it was nuts because some of the dates I was going on, they weren't just like, oh, an hour. It was like, no, I was going on like 3, 4, 5 hour dates over
Oh
Zoom,
my
and it was
gosh.
just like a long time. Like I look back, I'm like, how the heck did I do that? That's like nuts.
Yeah. That is crazy. So,
Yeah.
so I guess just to clear that up a little bit, did you kind of mix that in there while you like were already going on those 50 dates, 50 states, like, or, did you have that thing in motion where you were traveling yet, or did it start on Zoom?
It started on Zoom, and then once I like started to grow a following and get some traction, I was like, how can I up the ante? How can I make this more interesting? Because there's such a like everything in person is so much better than like
Yeah.
virtual. And so I'm like, man, what if I traveled to all 50 states and went and met all these girls I went on a virtual date with? What if I did that? And so that's what I did for
Oh,
season one. I met all the girls I went on a virtual date with, met them in person, and we went on in-person dates. So it just kind of helped like catapult it into the in-person ones.
Wow.
okay. That's a really good idea.
So you kind of you had the idea to do all this, and then kind of just once everything opened up, you kind of just executed and did it.
Yeah, and honestly, not even like when things opened up. Like it was like the odds were 100% like against me. Like I was traveling basically. It was I started season 1 January 11th of 2021. And so that was still like that was like before vaccines, that was before like
Yeah.
any of that.
Yeah.
And it was really patchy. Like every state I traveled to was different. Some of my dates and me when we'd go out, like it was like COVID didn't even exist, where in other states it was like, oh, this is shut down, or oh, this business hours are changed, or oh, we can't do
Yeah.
this anymore. And it's like, so it was kind of a puzzle to put together with all that stuff.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
crazy.
That's
That
a
is something that looking back on it, people are absorbing a lot of that and watching a lot of that content, but like putting yourself in that situation again last year, that is pretty hard to do. Like as if it wasn't crazy enough, you had to kind of navigate through that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was a hassle at times. It was like, because me and a date, we'd plan something, and then we'd be like, and it'd be like, okay, this restaurant closed at 8, and then we'd go there, and then it would be like, oh, sorry, we close at 5, but like, oh,
Oh my.
oh.
happened several times, like whether it was a restaurant or fun activity or whatever. It was kind of
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so it seemed like, you know, like, so did you plan like ahead of time the whole season, or did you kind of go with the flow a little bit as you were going through the states and everything?
yeah. So I all my dates had all of them planned. It was for me like I for you guys.
Okay. Yeah, give
Okay.
me 1 second. It seems to be cutting out a little bit. Let me see if I can kind of halt the upload here. Okay, maybe that will make it better. But I'm sorry. Could you kind of run us back through what you said there?
Yeah, you guys hear me all right?
Yes, now we can.
Yeah. It's
Cool. So I'm like, I had all my dates planned dates because in each day, like I don't know, it's fun. So, like for example, what town are you in? What's you guys
uh,
So we're in Florida.
Florida.
Yeah, we're in
So
Central Florida.
in? Okay, so like in Florida, you actually know the better things to do there than I do, and so
Right.
right.
and so with each of my dates, I'd be like, hey, like, can you plan like what we should do, or like at least give me suggestions, and then I can call and make reservations or book tickets online or whatever it is that way, because it would have been so difficult for me to try and plan all 50 on top of getting sponsors and
Yeah.
putting out content and traveling and like all the other stuff I had to do. So that really helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's true. So they kind of took the lead on that when with the planning and things like that.
Yeah, and some of them were like absolute rock stars where they just had like a full itinerary of stuff, and then others it was pretty like it was like, oh, I don't know, I'm in a small town, it's boring, like I don't know what to do, and so we'd
Yeah.
have to get like creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And I've seen some of those, like, those books where you scratch things off. Did you ever resort to that, or did you kind of just use your own like imagination when it came to being creative?
Yeah, I really just like I've seen those things too, and I like thought about, oh, like maybe like that'll help with some inspiration.
Yeah.
But no, I just kind of used my own creativity with it. Before I started 50 Dates 50 States, I used to work for a baseball team where I was the director of fun. That was my that was my
Okay.
job title,
Wow.
and so like I had to make things fun and creative, and so I used a lot of stuff like that I learned from that and tried to almost just become the director of fun of 50 Dates 50 States, like make all the dates fun and whatnot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is cool though that you could apply that like, from a professional setting to
Yeah. What a
to real
Yeah,
life.
right.
qualification.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
But I also did want to know, everyone, I feel like it's, something everyone wants to know. Like, what do you have any like really good date stories? Like,
Yeah, I
not to
was,
put anyone on blast, you don't have to be specific, but do you have like some awesome or some of your best date like stories and then some of your worst as well?
Yeah, like I think that, some of my best they were just it was almost it's almost like hard to put into words because I think it was just like the activities made them really fun. I mean, I
mhm.
remember last year in California, me and my date Sammy we went and rode bikes and we went on paddle boat. We were walking around downtown. A lot of fun. New Mexico date, we walked cabins in like the White Sands National Park, and ate some like really good like New Mexico, and like Arkansas. I went in the salsa dance class. I went to
Oh wow.
her sorority formal. So it's just like all different things. So like those are stood out that were really when it,
Yeah.
when it comes to like work. Like, I don't like say any state or anything, but there's a handful of I went to going 50 dates. I didn't, it was very small and bad. I think it's, and I remember one time I was on a date and we just and I literally and I paid and so I like get done paying for dinner and she literally like it just rubs me the wrong way. She was like, "Man, our waiter like really cute," and then like took the receipt that I like I just like signed the tip on, and she like put her and she was
Oh
like and
wow.
she was like this to him, and it just rubbed me like the wrong way,
Oh my.
like it's like in all the form, still just like I don't know if that's the right thing to do,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
That is definitely, yeah, I would say that's definitely not the right thing to do. That would
Yeah.
make me feel weird, honestly. Did she know you were, was that before you started like recording it and kind of like taking videos with the date and everything?
Yeah, yeah, like each date I would like video a bunch of things, but like I didn't, film the whole thing. And so a
Right.
lot of the time the camera was off, especially like dinner, because I just use my iPhone. And
Right.
so like I wasn't just gonna like prop it up and like have it sit there while we ate. And so, she did it while the camera was off. I wish she would have done it while the camera was on. That would have been good content.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Have you ever
yeah.
thought about like getting a cameraman or something just to follow you around?
Oh yeah, and with season two now, like it's gonna be kind of on another level that way. I have a videographer for season two, and he's got
Oh.
all the cameras and lenses and lights and drones and tripods and all that stuff, and there'll be times where he mics me and my date up and stuff. So very excited for that because that'll help take like the content and like the production of it to another level.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that would be awesome. And
Yeah.
I did want to ask this too. Do you have like a lot of companies that are like, "Oh, this is a cool concept. I want to get involved." Like of course I think I might have seen somewhere where did you work with Tinder or anybody like that?
I worked with a dating app last year called Snack, and so I
Oh,
I
okay.
did I like created content for them. But I get hit up by dating apps like all the time. It's very interesting. Like I every time I get hit up by a new one, I'm like, how many are there? Like there's
Yeah.
just so many, and it's
Yeah.
it's crazy. So dating apps like I fit into that category really well. But when it comes
Right.
to like other businesses, yeah, there's always like, whether it's just like the one-offs of people reaching out and they're like, oh, like we want a TikTok post, like simple like brands or whatever,
Yeah.
or if it's people who want to develop more of like a partnership and they want their logo on the car, or they want to be incorporated in the YouTube videos or the TikToks, or they want me and my date to make an appearance there, all those type of things. So some of them are more in depth that way, while others are just like, oh, like a couple TikToks, please, type thing.
Right. I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of these, like, there's a lot of restaurants or like date activity spots that would want to like reach out to you and have you come in and kind of just show off their place or their, restaurant. I'm sure that
Yeah, for
happens.
sure. Yeah, and that's what I tried a lot during season one. Like if I knew in advance somewhere, I'd be like, hey, like I'm Matt, I created this thing called City State. You might still be in, Saga. We're gonna come to this, and like some of them bit on it, and others but like yeah, someone would be like super like, oh yeah, like we'll come this, or come in, yeah, you can do this. We'll put you in exclusive area, or we'll give you this really good dish, or whatever.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And I think that was really cool. And I think with season two, it'll be even more like because it's growing. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
I'm sure.
excited for that.
Yeah.
I'm sure the first season was probably the most of a grind that you're probably gonna see.
Oh, 100%. The season was really laying the groundwork and just kind of went all in, like sink or swim. Like I think about it, there were some like first season one, like there was a handful of nights I was in my car.
Oh, jeez.
And I was like, because I stay in hotels all the time, like it just like got expensive
Right.
and checking in hotels and just been eating out for 5.5 months, like
Yeah.
so much, and it wasn't like I slept in I woke up days. It's never like that, but just it was moments where it was like that.
That's insane. Were there any moments in that first season to where you're like you had doubts, like I don't know if I could do this, or along the way, like am I gonna run out of money,
Or
like
how-
things like that?
Yeah. Or how many states in were you at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the only time I like really got kind of worried was I think there were two times, and one was when my truck had a little bit of issues in West Virginia, and I had like there was like something with the driving shaft and like the U joints, and like a lot of things happened, and that was on state like 35 or like
Oh, wow.
32 or something. So that was nice because like I had I was over halfway done and
Right.
whatnot, and so I remember that. But like that was kind of a hefty bill, and I was like, dang, like that one kind of scared me. And then the other time was like when I booked tickets to Hawaii and Alaska, because I booked plane tickets to Hawaii and Alaska. Then Hawaii is a little bit more expensive when it comes to just like
Yeah.
staying in hotels and Airbnbs and stuff. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, like that was stressing me out. But like it was so interesting because like I swear it was like when it came to money or finances, like all of a sudden I'd be like super nervous, and then all of a sudden like I'd get a brand deal or a sponsor or something, and then it would just like work out. And
Yeah.
then or like it just everything played. I don't know. It was just nuts how it all worked out. It really
It was just meant to be.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
It's crazy. Life like works out like, sometimes just like that in your favor. Like if you just put it all out there.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. Well, I think like I don't know if you guys have like seen or heard of like that movie or like that book, The Secret. Have you guys
Yeah.
ever heard of that?
Yes.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
talks about like the law of attraction, right? Like I
Right.
think about that all the time, like with especially when I was like chipping away before I hit the road for season one. I was like, okay, like, I'm going on these virtual dates, but I just like kept like chipping away, then things started playing into my favor. And it was just like, wow, how did this like I remember my New Mexico date, she was able to get me hotel discounts throughout like the whole US. And
wow.
and then like I needed a topper for my truck, so it like was enclosed to put like my stuff in, and toppers are normally around like $800 to $1,000, but I found one for like $100, like in good condition. And it was
Wow.
like, and like, so just like these little things happened, and I was like, wow, this is like, I took a step back and I'm like, wow, and like obviously a bunch more, but it was just like, wow, like all these things are happening in my favor, even though there are some odds against me with COVID and my truck being super old and like having a lot of miles on it, and me like still getting to know this content creator world. Like there was so much, but like there was a lot of things that played into my favor too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that is interesting. And I'm glad you kind of bring that up because I do feel like the more bold you are and the more you kind of just have faith that it's going to work out, it usually does. If if you're just fully like, I'm doing this and the universe just has to provide.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I always like to say, like I walk by faith, not by sight, like type thing, or
Oh,
like
that's
I
good.
don't know, because I mean, you gotta believe in things you can't see. You gotta like have that imagination or that creativity or like the big picture, right? Like I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
you guys are creating content left and right, and you guys know how it is. Like, oh, okay, I imagine this, I'm gonna create this. I have this vision of what it could be, and you try to make that a reality, and so it's like super powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it really is. And I would have to say like it's kind of crazy how I do see some parallels like with how you're saying like, when it does get ours is a little bit more slow pace. It's not like in one season, but when we are like getting a little closer like I don't know, we'll come up with a brand deal or something like that to where it'll just help propel us a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, and then that just helps you like that just like helps you keep going. It's like
Hmm.
that motivation or that extra kick and stuff like that. And I think for me, I always think about because there's times been like, because with what I'm doing, I like to say I'm basically like creating my own reality TV show almost.
Yes.
And like for me, I'm like it's difficult because there's so much to organize, like with recruiting dates and creating content and getting sponsors and a vehicle and money and finance. Like there's just so much to it. And I'm
Yeah.
Hmm.
like, and so there's been times where I'm like, man, like, is it worth all this like hassle? But then at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, like, I mean, if I quit, the answer. Like, if I quit or I give up or I don't do this, like, I know nothing's gonna happen. Like, the answer to this
Right.
is ultimately no. But like, so why not try? Like, why not just like keep trying, keep trying, keep trying? Because I'd way rather at the end of the day, like, say I failed or like it didn't work out than like say what if. That's kind of my
Yeah.
mindset.
Yeah.
That's really good. And I feel like I don't know, I feel like life just has a way of like testing you. It's like when
Oh
you
yeah.
when you have that decision in front of you, like, oh, I could just, turn around and you decide to keep going. I feel like there is like a significant amount of like reward there.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I like heard something like that the other day, like a quote or something where it's like, yeah, life will challenge your commitment to like your dreams and goals, like, and that's so true what you said. And usually it's like, and it's so weird because usually it's like at that point where you want to stop, and most people do because they're just like, oh, like it's too tough now or whatever. But if you get over that last hump, then like, there's the sunset or whatever. Like I don't
Yeah.
know, you gotta push through.
Yeah. And like the way I always kind of, or I guess more recently, but the way I kind of think about it is you can always go back to like what you were doing before. Like you can always just do the same exact thing. So why not just like do this now? And then worst case, you're in the same exact position, if not
Yeah,
better with experience.
right. Exactly. And that was my mindset with like the baseball team. Like I really liked working for the baseball team. Obviously, my job was like pretty fun and
Yeah.
Yeah.
and everything. But
Literally.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And like because I was the on-field host, so I was in front of fans and at the ballpark, and I became a kind of this character there. And people seemed to enjoy my company there, and I really enjoyed that. But I just like saw the bigger picture with what I was doing. But I told myself exactly what you said. I was like, well, you know what, like if something goes wrong or like it doesn't work out, I could always come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good way to look at it. And did you when you were doing that, did you have this kind of in the back of your mind of where you're like you wanted to do something like this, or did you already know you kind of wanted to do this, or
Yeah, no, I like this was like soup. Like all this has gone so fast, and
yeah.
I never really like never wanted to like dive into the content creator world or anything like that. Like I had thought about I had like liked video editing. Like I had liked putting together some videos here and there, but I'd never really like dove into like YouTube or I mean, I knew TikTok came along and stuff. Like back in the day, I made some like stupid vines, stuff like that, or like I would post pictures on Instagram, but like never really dove too much into the content creator world. But once I started doing it, I found it pretty rewarding. I mean, what do you guys like when it comes to the content creator world? Like, what do you guys think of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's incredible how anybody can really, you can make whatever content you want as long as you kind of make it the best you can with an image, I guess, or a picture in mind of what you want it to be, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to put it. I get like I'm like a really open-minded, like optimistic person, and I think even with like TikTok, especially, I've like become even more that. Like someone could say like they're really passionate about like, or they really like love taste testing like different syrups, and I'll be like, oh, dude, you should go into TikTok, like make all this channel and like blow up, like create a brand or like a logo. Like I'm like all in to like, cause
Yeah.
like you said, you have your phone at your disposal and you could just like in the snap of your fingers, like grow a following, a brand. Like it's been easier it is now than ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it could even be like a joke and just blow up out of nowhere, and then you're like doing it, you know?
Right, exactly. Yeah, you could go in like not thinking of it at all. That's like what a lot of people do. They're just like, oh, I'll throw out a couple videos, and then it just resonates super well with people, and then they're just
Yeah.
like, wow, this is my life now.
Right.
Yeah. But you are right though. Like I do find myself doing that too, because I do see myself as, one of those optimistic people who is like, I don't know, you seem like someone who when you want to do something, you just take action, which I think is the best way to do it. But I do, when people like say they're interested in something, I'm like, oh, you should do this, because we've seen it. We've seen people kind of go from get a huge following and do what they love just by something simple.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Well, yeah, you got to just take massive action, and I think a lot of things that stop people is just the fear of other people's
Yeah.
opinions. That's a big thing.
That's
Right.
a huge
and
one, yeah.
and also like failure, like, oh, what if it doesn't work type thing. I feel like those are like the two really big ones. Yeah, fear of failure and like other people's opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
definitely.
totally agree.
Yeah, especially the opinion one, because our our whole environment right now is like so socially oriented and everything. I think that's the biggest part of it.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it is intimidating because like people are very quick to judge now. Like very
Mhm.
quick to judge, and like I with what I do, I notice like, and I try to monitor it because I never want like my dates to feel like disrespect or anything. But like,
Mhm.
especially like with what I do when I throw, when I announce date stuff, some people can be super rude and like start bashing like, oh, I bet you could find someone who's prettier. Oh, I had a girl I could have done. Did she do this? And they just like kind of attack sometimes, while others are like
Right.
super supportive and they're like, oh, she's beautiful. Oh my gosh, she's amazing. Or wow, I wish I could be picked, but I'm not cute enough. Whatever, like,
Yeah.
but it comes from both sides. And so it is intimidating. And like, but you just gotta kind of roll with the punches, I suppose.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that brings up a really good point too. Are there any of the dates that like felt either pressured or like they got some feedback that they didn't like from the videos and things like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I told all my dates prior. I told them, I said, hey guys, like going into this, like you're gonna be put in the spotlight a little bit. Like, I'll be promoting you on social media and stuff, and like you'll be on the website and highlighted, and so we all know how the internet gets, and so I almost gave them just kind of like that, warning. Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and there was one girl that dropped because of it. Like before I went on the date, she was like, I just don't know if I'm comfortable like being in the spotlight and like hearing people's opinions and stuff. When it came to like other comments and whatnot, I really tried to like. It's hard for me to look at all my comments and stuff, but like I would try to. If I ever saw something that was hateful, I would really to delete it. Like towards my date, if it's towards me, I don't really care. But like
Yeah.
if it was towards like my date, I would try to delete it. But there was never a time, I don't think, where my date was like upset about what someone. There was okay, there was some drama in season one. There was some big drama because one of my dates, she couldn't go on the date with me, and so I got on TikTok and but like I said it in like a just kind of in passing. I didn't mean it like aggressively.
Right.
But she didn't go on the date with me because like the weather was bad in Oklahoma, and like I was like, well, we don't have to like we don't have to go play in the snow. Like we could have a movie night. We could play board games. Like I was giving her all kinds of like alternatives, and it just sounded like she was making like almost excuse after excuse not to go on it. And so I was like, okay, it is what it is. But so I got on TikTok and I basically said, okay, so like my old date bailed is what I said, and I didn't say what state, I didn't say her name, I didn't say any of that stuff. I just said, hey, my old date bailed, like I'm looking for a new date type thing, and so then I could find a new girl.
Right.
And people like correlated, or people found out who bailed. Like I didn't say who or anything, but then people on my Instagram story, I put like, oh, I need a new Oklahoma date. And so I think people who followed me on Instagram and TikTok like correlated that together. And so then they just like went in on my old Oklahoma date and just like apparently were sending her like terrible messages and like calling her out, like, why, how could you do this? Why would you do this? I can't believe, and then I heard about it and I like felt really, really bad because I was like, oh, I was trying to be really discreet about it, but like, people were trying to just go in and cause issues. And so that wasn't good.
Yeah. The internet is crazy.
Yeah.
You never know.
I think something that, people need to keep in mind too is, you're kind of on a time clock too. If someone cancels, you need someone right away to get that content and to move on with, what you were doing.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like that was like the biggest thing is, like giving these girls a heads up when I'll be to town and everything, because I have things like scheduled out. And I tried like at first during season one, I was like, okay, I'm going to plan all the dates, like have the date set. But that was so hard to do because if something happens on state 4, then that's going to shift everything. That's just going to domino effect everything. And so I just kind of planned like almost like 5 at a time, like in almost 5s along the way. And that helped. But yeah, like I had places to be and women to see. Like I had to get going.
Yeah, for real. How did you like come up with like the order of the states, or the way you're doing that?
Yeah, in season 1, I just tried to make it the most efficient. I was living in Montana, or I went back to Montana, and then I started from there, and I just kind of tried to make it the most efficient. So I dipped down to Wyoming and then up the West Coast through the South. And I was trying to hit like the warmer weather a little bit too first, because I left in January. And so I was trying to hit that warmer weather and just make it the most efficient. This season, it's a little weird because it's kind of a weird route. I'm going from like Michigan, and I go like straight down south and then up the East Coast, and then like back over to the Midwest, and then circle on the West Coast, and then through the Midwest, and then back. It's like kind of weird, but that's but that's just kind of how it was structured.
Okay. And to just touch on this a little bit, were there any cities that were like, something that people may not think about? Like, were there cities that traffic was just awful, or places to park was difficult, and things like that you didn't like really expect?
That I didn't expect. See, I think all the places that had bad traffic were the ones I expected to, like New York and stuff. Like, oh my gosh, like that city, I can't do it. It's nuts to me. Like there's just so much going on. And I feel like the whole East Coast in general, from Baltimore or Washington to like Boston, is just a nightmare. Like I was surprised by that, because it's like city on top of city. It's Baltimore and Philly and New York and Boston. Like it's all just this flow of people, like in a kind of crunched up like area. And compared to where I grew up, that's like in North Dakota, where it's just like open plains and you see like 2 people on the highway, and so like that was a little surprising when it came to traffic. I think things that surprised me were like small towns that I had never been to. I was like, oh, this is like pretty cool. Because I mean, I think small towns have like, even though there's not a ton to do, there's like little hidden gems within them. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Do you have like a favorite or least favorite place or date that you've been on? You don't have to say like specifically, but or you don't even have to answer this, but but if you do have that, what would it be?
Like, are you saying like a least favorite place that I went, or a
Yeah, well,
girl I
or
was with?
date. Yeah, we can keep it with the state, so it's not. But like, I'd imagine like maybe Hawaii would be one of the best, or something like that. Or do you have a state that
Yeah,
surprised you?
yeah. So like Hawaii was hands down my favorite like state in terms of like all 50 states. Not including the dates or anything. Like me and my date, she was awesome. Like one of my favorite dates for sure. Like because Hawaii, yeah, it's just like on another level of
Yeah,
entertainment and fun. There's so much more to
yeah,
do there than there is in like Nebraska. But like yeah,
yeah.
I think like the states like yeah, California, like Florida, California, Florida, and Hawaii. Like I think those are like just those entertainment states that have so much to do. Like really stood out.
Yeah.
But then states that weren't like that, that you don't, I don't know, that aren't that entertaining. The girl really helped sometimes. Like I said, like New Mexico or Arkansas. You know how we did like a bunch of fun things, and those were just like a couple gals that came to mind. I mean, like New Hampshire and Louisiana, like all kinds of dates that I had fun on. But yeah, just like sometimes the date activities were the best part, and then sometimes the girl was the best part. Like if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Do you have a favorite, like, I guess, monument or something that you've been to in the States?
Um, It's a good question. I like the monuments that are pretty whack. I like things that are just like super random. And I remember in Vermont I saw I don't this is not a monument, but this is the first thing that came to mind. But I remember I saw the world's tallest filing cabinet. And it was just like ginormous, like so high and just like so random. And it's in like just this random little like parking lot. And she's like, yeah, that's like the world's tallest filing cabinet. And I'm like, that is hilarious. So like I
How
like
tall is
stuff
it?
like that. That's a good question. I have no idea. It's like I have no idea. You guys will have to like scroll back on my Instagram to my Vermont date. I have a picture of me and her by it, but it's like I don't know. I want to say there's probably like 20 filing cabinets or more, like just like stacked on each other. That are
Wow.
like it's like really high. It's
Probably like
probably like
200 feet.
yeah, it's like probably like the height of like a light post you see in like a Walmart parking lot.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah, yeah, especially,
That's pretty tall.
yeah.
Just for filing cabinets, Matt. Yeah,
Yeah. You don't
absolutely.
come across that often.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like stuff like that was really cool. I did see in Pennsylvania. I thought this was really cool. There was like another Statue of Liberty. Did you guys know that?
No,
I don't think
I don't
so.
think
Yeah.
so.
I don't think I
Yeah,
knew that.
like me and my date were driving, and she's like, "Oh yeah, if you look over there, there's another Statue of Liberty." And there's straight up like this Statue of Liberty, and it's just like all like white, and it's in the middle of like a river. It's like in the middle
Really?
of the river, and it's just like this miniature, but like kind of uh like you can spot it, but it's not like the actual. It's not like the New York one where
Yeah.
it's ginormous. But she's like, yeah, it's just
Okay.
like right over there, and I look, and yeah, it's just like in the middle of this river, and it's just like standing and like water streaming by it, but it's just like I'm like that is cool though, because it was I feel like not many people know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like a lot of people have seen the Statue of Liberty, but have you seen the other Statue of Liberty?
Yeah, yeah, right,
That's
yeah. So I thought that was like pretty cool too.
yeah,
Yeah. And
that's
a
awesome.
part of your journey that I didn't really expect, I didn't even think about like my thought process was, oh, you flew through or you drove through every state, but you had to fly to, you mentioned you flew to Alaska and Hawaii.
Yeah,
Were there any other places you had to fly to, or was there anything like
Oh
that?
no, just Alaska and Hawaii were the only. And I'm a fan. I like tents, and I just can't don't know. And so I'm glad I drive everywhere.
yeah,
That's nice that I drive everywhere. But yeah, just last year Hawaii and Alaska were the only ones I flew to. This year I'll fly to Alaska, Hawaii, and then I'll also fly to Puerto Rico because this season I'll be picking a winner.
Oh,
Oh, okay. That's
wow.
cool too. That's a new
Yeah.
aspect.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
absolutely. Yeah, that's gonna be pretty sweet. That's a cool thing about this season is because last season I told all my dates and I wanted to stay true to my word. I told all my dates last season that I would never pick a favorite. I was like, I'll never pick a favorite. I won't like rank you guys. And so like even though I get asked it all the time, I like never wanted to be like, oh, she was my favorite, or like I'll say a handful of times like, oh, they were one of my favorites, type of thing.
Yeah.
But I
Right.
never wanted to announce. But after getting feedback and people always asking like, oh, who's your favorite? Who's your favorite? Who was the winner? I'm like, I should probably like make that a thing because then I think it makes people like more intrigued. They're like, oh, who's he gonna
Yeah.
Yes.
pick? And so yeah, this season I'll pick a winner, and then for 4 nights, all expenses paid for, we'll go to Puerto Rico, me and her.
Oh, that's
Oh,
awesome.
that's really
It
cool.
really is turning
Yeah.
into like The Bachelor and all that. So,
Yeah, a little bit. Like, see, and honestly, like, The Bachelor is something that like motivates me because I think The Bachelor is something that's been around for so long, and it's just
yeah.
like it's been around for like 25 years, and I mean, they add new drama and stuff, but I feel like they take like 5 girls from LA, like a couple gals from Florida, maybe 3 from Nashville. Like, I feel like they just
Right.
take like all they just like are really selective. And
Yeah.
with this, it's like I don't know, it involves every state, and like everybody has like low key state pride. I mean, for example,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't watch Miss America, but if like if Montana wins Miss America, I'm like, let's go, like it's hype,
Yeah.
or it's like
Yeah.
if sorry, I got a text there. Um, but or it's like I mean the other day when I was like watching the Super Bowl, I remember someone I was with, they were like, oh yeah, number 23 or whatever, he's from Wyoming, like that, and like they were from Wyoming, and so like they just like there's that state like correlation
Yeah.
and pride.
Yes.
And so with this, I think if it keeps growing, people could be like, oh, Sarah's on 50 dates, 50 states, oh my gosh, like my sister's cousin played basketball with her, or what,
Yeah.
like that's how I kind of I view it. I almost view it as like taking Miss America and The Bachelor and like combining it into its own thing.
Yeah.
That's a really good point because there definitely is that, and that could make it even like bigger. Like that could turn into something on its own. You know?
Yeah, and that's what I think. Like I think it, I just think it has like that momentum and that growth opportunity. I mean, like I think of remember back in the day, like American Idol with like Randy and Simon and Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember, it was like huge. It was like the best thing, and like it was on for years. And then The Voice came along and kind of kicked its butt. Like The Voice kind of
Yeah.
like did its own thing and like turned it to a different style. And then like American Idol went away, and then it kind of came back. But like I think like I like that's my motivation. Like I just want to like say
Beat.
I just want to kick The Bachelor out. Like
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
out of here. You know.
No, I agree with you too. Is The Bachelor, it seems a little repetitive now. I know it has this, it does have I don't know, it has this thing where girls just love it because it's, known as The Bachelor and all this different stuff. But it's a
Yeah.
little less real, it seems like, too, because like you said, they're picking girls, there's an auditioning process, like things like that. And it seems like, yours is very interesting because it's so real, and you're not really picking from, all right, this girl's going to be the best or anything like that. You like people do want to see good content, but they also want to see bad as well. So they want to
Yeah.
see that realistic aspect to it, which is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I just think The Bachelor's turned like really like I don't really watch it, but like just like things I see or clips or whatever, like I just feel like it's really like drama filled. And I mean, kudos on what they're doing. They've been around for 25 plus years, like, but I just think there's a different way to go in and like challenge it, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Because those sort of things are also like, I guess, in lack of a better term, political in a sense, because it's like they're picking their favorite or they're picking the one that would be best for the show, things like that. And this
Yeah.
is, definitely just more real.
Yeah, and I think people relate to that a lot better. Yeah, it's just like more real. Or it's like, oh, this small town girl in Iowa, and okay, and I also think like this could have so many other ways to go about it, right? Like because what I want to do for season 3 is I want to have a girl do this and like go on dates with guys and everything because
Oh
I
yeah.
because I understand like I can't do this every season. People are gonna be like, what the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
You know, but like so I think like a girl did it next season, like went on dates with guys, and then it just switches. So it's almost like the Bachelor, where it's like Bachelor,
Yeah.
Bachelorette. But I just then like I feel like it would just be so popular. People being like, oh, I'm gonna apply for 50 dates, 50 states. I'm gonna apply for Florida. I'm gonna apply for Georgia. I
Mhm.
just feel like it. And I feel like if it was at people's fingertips to apply to, they don't have to. And I know you can with the Bachelor. I think you can like apply online, but they also have like casting calls and stuff, and those are
Yeah.
only in like the big cities. And
Yeah.
I don't know, like if it was just at your fingertips to apply for 50 dates, 50 states for your state, and it was just like quick and easy, and you had a chance, like I think that's
Yeah.
pretty valuable.
Yeah, 100%. And I think people, really enjoy this more because it's, it has that real aspect, but it's like, it's people are craving more real, like less like cable set up and more just like TikTok, for instance. Like they want to see
Yeah,
just normal people like content.
yeah, for sure. And I think just highlighting all these places, like I think like the travel aspect is really huge with this, and it's not it's like the focus is like going on dates and everything, but also the other part about it is like traveling. So it almost like
Yeah.
you get this like Discovery Channel type thing to it, like that crowd, people who are like, oh, he's traveling all over, oh, dates with girls, or like I don't know, it just
Yeah.
Yeah.
it has like a big wide audience. Or like if I'm going and we're eating at all kinds of different restaurants, like there's a food audience. Like if we're going and listening to different music or live bands or concerts, like there's a music audience. There's just so many audiences to pull in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's really so much to like reasons to watch this. Like if you're visiting a state where like I can see everyone like from Florida seeing if you're gonna go to like Disney or do all this,
Yeah,
so just seeing where you go and like follow you that way, even if it's just in their own state, I feel like that's a huge like market, I guess.
right. Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think like the cool thing is like I remember last or when I went on my virtual dates, I remember the my Idaho date that I was on a virtual date with back in the day. She told me that she's from like the small town in Washington that like Twilight was filmed. I don't know what
Oh,
I don't
that's
know what
interesting.
yeah, I don't know what um the town's name is, but she was basically saying how uh Twilight came there and filmed it, and when you go to that town, like it's just covered in stuff from Twilight. Like it's like, oh, Twilight was filmed here. Oh, like this is Twilight. And so I was like, oh,
Yeah.
if like this grows enough, like those small towns and stuff, like be like, oh, hey, 50 Days, 50 States came here, or it has like a picture of me and my date on the wall in like the small diner, or
Right.
Yeah.
all that stuff. And even though like that's not that like even though a picture of me and my date or like my logo on this small town diner, even though that's not the New York Times, it's still like valuable, and
Yeah.
it's like
Right.
wholesome, I think. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
definitely.
absolutely. Has any network, like major network, reached out to you to try to take over this this show, or, and made it their own?
yeah, yeah. So I've actually talked with like 3 different producers. I talked with one group when I was doing my virtual dates. Like I was like a month into my virtual, and some producers from LA had reached out to me, and they were like a new and upcoming production company, and like nothing really happened with them. They I got under contract with them, and we talked about some things. There was some high hopes, but like nothing really happened with that. And I think it was really hard because of the pandemic and everything then, because
Oh
that was
yeah.
when I
Yeah.
started the virtual dates, was because of the pandemic. And so I think like it was really hard for like filming and all that stuff. And so nothing really
Yeah.
happened with that one, but that was like super valuable to me because that opened my eyes even more. Like
Hmm.
when I got an email about this possibly becoming a reality show a month after I had been doing virtual dates, I'm like, what? I'm like, what? Like
Yeah.
this could be bigger than I thought, type thing. And so that like opened my eyes, but nothing really happened with that. I talked with another guy in LA for a while, where we were in contact and we were gonna try to do something with it. Nothing really happened there. I talked with a guy out in New York when I was in New York, and we met up and discussed some things, but like like none of these, and in ways it's like aggravated me because it's almost like it's almost like people are knocking on my door, I answer, and then they run. It's almost
Yeah.
like that. Like it's like
Yeah.
I don't know, like I meet with these people, and so but recently I just got under I'm under a management team now, and
Oh,
which
nice.
is awesome because like they actually have like taken action, and like
That's
they've
good.
really
Oh, that's
taken like
good.
necessary steps and like and helped, and so they're helping with a lot of things in season two, which will help get it to that next level, which we're hoping. So then more of those networks or producers or whoever it is will knock on our door, and we can like discuss things, because I think this would be so good if this was on like a streaming service like a Netflix or
Yes.
a
Yeah.
Hulu or something, right?
I think so too. I think, as much attention as it's gotten so far, there definitely is, like hearing your vision for it. There's definitely a place for it, and I think it could definitely get a lot bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hope so. I really hope so. Just gotta. I never know what one morning I might wake up to like a crazy bizarre email about it. Like that's what I think about when I got that one from the first producer. Like I remember I woke up that morning and I open up my email, and yeah, and this email said like, hey Matt, this is so and so from, and I'm with a production company in LA, and I saw your Corona era dating endeavor is what he called it, and he said, and I think it would make for a great reality TV show. If interested, like let me know. And I like that was just like so like I'm like wow, it's like a Tuesday. I'm like it's just like
Yeah.
a Tuesday, and I wake up to that email like what, like that's crazy. And so like in the future it'd be awesome for more opportunities like that to present itself, because yeah, I think it could crush it.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
now when these networks and these producers reach out to you, do they have a plan to kind of change it or limit it or anything like that? Because I know it seems like you're very passionate about it. So would you like hand over some of that creative process, or would you just want to be in full control of it?
Yeah, so I think, I think with any sort of production or network, I think they're always going to want control, like some control at least.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
at least like talking with the handful of producers that I have, like, they have their opinions of it or their spins they want to take on, because everybody's got an opinion, and I respect that.
Right.
I think for me, I always want to remain like in creative control for the most part. Like, because what I don't like, I'm open to like you know sharing opinions and like reframing some
Yeah.
things. But what I don't want to happen is like all of a sudden like what 58 City States was built on, like this wholesome fun project, to turn it this like vulgar like I don't know, like I would hate for it to
Yes.
be like
Drama, like,
yeah, vulgar
yeah.
drama, like just like I don't know, dirty brand. And then it's just
Yeah.
like I get it, like it's part of the game to like get clicks
Right.
and like and add a little spice and drama, and like I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that because like sometimes I like to be a little edgy, and like I think that's kind of fun. But like
Yes.
Hmm.
I think it's the perfect. I think it has to have a balance, and I just don't want people to like think of 50 Dates, 50 States in like a negative way. That like that would be my biggest thing with like giving up control. Um, yeah, that would be my biggest thing. But I'd be open to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I like hearing that from you because I don't know, there's just something about starting a project and being able to control it. Like you'd probably hand over all the logistical stuff and all that stuff, but when it comes
Yeah,
down to like the important like direction that it's going in and things like that, is like that's where you want to have more control, right?
yeah, 100%. Yeah, like all like the logistic behind the scenes stuff. I'm very open to like throwing that other people's way and
Yeah.
whatnot. And like and it's nice because like my management, they're helping with a lot of that behind the scenes stuff while I can help with the creative part of this, which is like why I'm working with them. I think they're a great crew to
Yeah.
work with and whatnot. But yeah, like when it comes to these bigger networks, like I'm super curious, if like hopefully I'm fortunate enough in the future to have a meeting with something, and I'm curious like what a meeting like that would entail when it came to like creative direction, and like, or if it's just like nope, we want it, like you're out of the picture, like kind of cut and dry, just like all right, like give it to us, it's ours. Or if
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
oh no, like we're open to like oh yeah, like you still playing a part and whatnot. So yeah, like time will tell with a little bit of it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point too, is seeing which networks and if they're trying to just carry on the show and fade you out or what it would be. And it did kind of seem like, I don't know if just hearing the way the guy approached you with the email, it seemed like he was trying to put you in a box of like Corona, the Corona era. So, I don't like that they might try to limit you in that way too. Is that something that you like kept an eye on? You're like, oh, this could be limited if I go with this, or.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And actually like that, the first group, and like good catch on that, like the first group of guys that reached out to me with that email, they wanted to make it like a virtual dating show type thing. Like that's kind of how they wanted. And I wasn't like a fan of that because I was like, because like I told you guys before, like I think there's only so much you can do virtually. And I'm like, I don't know, like to me, it's not interesting to turn on a show and like watching two people on Zoom, like through a whole series. Now, if it's like a podcast, that's different because it's like two people talking, like that's the point of it. But like, but like watching like a show where it's just virtual, like I don't know, that's not that appealing to me. And so I wasn't the biggest fan of that. But like blessing in disguise, apparently, like when they were in talks with some people in the industry, like something like that was apparently already being worked on. Not sure what it was. So they were like, oh, well, that's already being worked on, so we have to reframe it. I'm like, yes. I'll go for it.
Oh, sorry. But yeah, that was definitely good insight on your part. Now that thinking about like the problems that could have, not even just being like not as big, but like even just like it cutting out, people talking over each other. It's like watching a Zoom meeting sometimes,
Sorry, 1 second. It's
it's
like making like a weird, like staticky noise.
Oh, my bad.
Okay, now it's good. Now it's good. It's perfect.
We're back.
It's good.
Right, cool.
Sorry,
cool.
sorry to interrupt you there.
No, you're good. You're good. I'll start over there. But yeah, I think like it's really important to figure out what direction to take it in, like you guys were saying, because I don't want to like put it in this small box and it's like, oh, there's no room for growth, or oh, like we've done all we could with it. It's like, no, like we got to keep switching up. We can do this. We can make it fresh and different and fun and
Yeah.
And also something that, an interesting little fact is we've been approached for a couple dating shows now, but there's always that chance that you're working for free and it's not going to air too.
Yeah.
So like like people that haven't been through the process or heard about it or anything like that, there is a chance that they could take over the show and buy it and just kill it off or something like that too.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like, when it comes to all that stuff, I like to think like whether you do it or you don't, it's a roll of the dice. Like it's a gamble. Like life in general is a gamble. Like whether I pursue 50 dates for 50 states or I don't, like I'm rolling the dice. I'm like, all right, we'll see, we'll see the cards I'm drawn or like how it all works out. And so I think with like, if I signed with a network or a company, then it's like, all right, I guess like, we'll see. Like I'm basing it on my judgment. I'm like, I think this is the right move and I guess we'll see. And a thing for me is like, I like to, people are motivated by all kinds of different things. For me, I like to think like I'm not really a money motivated person. Like obviously everybody likes money and stuff, but for me, like a company could offer me a lot of money, but if like I thought they were just gonna like absolutely like wreck the brand or like put it in bad hands, like that doesn't do anything for me. Like that doesn't. A dollar bill is not gonna fix that. I guess.
Right.
100%. And I think having that kind of I guess motivation or mindset is, gives it the possibility of actually being even bigger and getting more money just because you're so like passionate and, tuned in on the important thing of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I would really hope that, it would be super ideal. Like it'd be super cool if I could like work with a network and they let me like still be on it. And I wasn't like, I didn't have to be the guy that was dating, but I became more of like the Chris Harrison, like the host type thing. Like kind of like that.
That's good.
that middleman, because I think if it became if it went to like a network or streaming service, I think you would need some sort of like narrator or like middle guy to like talk about that stuff. Like I think that just would make it flow better. And so if I could be that guy, like I think that'd be super ideal. But it's not like that's the sell all or anything. That would just be like the cherry on top.
Yeah, but I mean, what better person to have on and do that though? You know, like
exactly.
That's the like you have the experience of it. You created it, so why not?
Right? Yeah, for sure.
And I did want to ask you too. You seem like you have a good idea of what you want it to turn into. How many seasons in your optimistic mindset do you see the show going?
And do you see it going into like different countries too? Just want to throw that one in there.
Yeah. So I think like what I think in my vision and of it all, I think that like this could just keep going for just season after season after season after season. And I don't know how to answer it, like whether that's on a network or not. Like if it's on a network, like more, because obviously like more eyes and like that. But like on my own, I still just like until it's like just way more. If it's just like stuck, then obviously. But I like to think it like really doesn't have a ceiling to it. Now I think like now I think when it comes to like international stuff, I think almost like you guys know Barstool Sports, right?
Yeah.
So like I think like there's Barstool, it's the brand, but then they have all these other things, right? They have Call Her Daddy, and they have the Dave Portnoy Show, and they have like all these different podcasts, and they have all these different they have like an alcohol, but they have all these things under the umbrella of Barstool.
And bars and things.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think with this, like almost taking 50 Dates, 50 States, and it's like, okay, it's grown. Like, there's good profit, good eyes, good viewers. People know what the brand is. And then that's when like another show develops under 50 Dates, 50 States, and it is like a international one. It's like an international type thing, or it's something like more tailored toward like girls or something. I'm not sure what that would be, but I think it's it could be like 7 continents or is there 7 continents? Is that how many continents there are?
I don't know, honestly. I
think there's 7.
7, it could be, but it could be fun there where it's like something with like the 7 continents, and then it's like someone going to Antarctica for something. And it doesn't have to be like a date necessarily, because 50 Dates, 50 States is already that. So then it's just like rebranded, but it still has that focus of like, traveling places and doing a certain thing, whether that's cooking, whether that's going to a play, like I don't know, like I'm just throwing stuff, but like just certain things, like I think that kind of would all fall under the umbrella of 50 Dates, 50 States.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. So have you thought of too doing like simultaneously, like how there's Bachelor and Bachelorette? Have you thought about like doing that like, because I know you said maybe next season you're gonna have a girl on. Are you thinking about alternating or doing it at the same time maybe, or?
Yeah, I think what I want to do is I think I want to take I want to try, and I think management too wants to do this, which would be good, but I think we want to just try to do them like very simultaneously. So we want to do almost like 2 seasons a year. Because like for my first one, it was really drawn out because I was just like figuring things out, and it went from like when I started going on virtual dates in March, and then finished all those up, and then I started the journey in January of like the next year, and then I traveled along that whole thing, and then I'll start this season in February of 20. So it's just like been this like weird, like there hasn't been like a structure to like the flow or like when the season or tour is. And so I think like especially after this one, we'll be able to do that. So it's like, okay, from January till April is 50 Dates, 50 States with the girl. And then from July till November is the one with the guy. Like, and then it just like becomes that every year, and like people know. Like that's what I would hope. Kind of like, is that what you were meaning, right?
Yeah,
Bachelor,
absolutely.
Bachelorette? Yeah,
because you do want the focus on one at a time, of course, but they do it the same year, different seasons, kind of like, or different seasons of the year.
Yeah,
right.
And so that's exactly what we want to do, and I think that'd be the best way. It's just for me, it's been like, oh, like laying the groundwork and now like trying to develop that.
I think so too. And I actually did have a question here too, is do you think that with a girl taking that over, and being the one kind of initiating the dating in 50 states, do you think there's going to be like a stigma or some backlash with that of, like the classic stuff that we've all heard?
Yeah, like basically like it's okay for like it's glorified for guys but not for girls type thing. I'm not picking up what you're putting down. Okay,
yes.
Yeah. I think, I do think that there will be a little bit, but I also think that like it would be a lot worse if she was doing that out the get-go. Like if 50 Dates, 50 States started that way, like if she started doing it that way, like, oh, hey, I'm this girl, I'm going to go and I'm going to travel to all 50 states and I'm going to, go on dates with all these guys. I think then that would get like a lot of backlash right off the cuff. But I think like, since I've built this brand and done it, it's like, oh, like this is how it works. Like this is what happens. And so I think people who may not know about the brand, then they might, be more judgmental or like have those opinions. But I think overall, like people would understand. Like I think there'll be backlash a little bit, but I don't think it would be overbearing.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting too that you bring that up. Do you think it could have caught on with as much momentum if it was a girl that started it instead of you? Or how do you like obviously you're the visionary and you thought this through and everything like that. I'm just curious as far as like from like social standards and stuff like that of do you think it would be any different? Do you think it would be the same or?
Yeah, I truly think like if a girl would have started this before me and she was like a really attractive girl, I think it would be like bigger. Like, cause I think girls like, I mean, you guys know, like a girl could hop on TikTok in like her bikini and have like 1 million followers. Yeah. And it's just like, well, we're chipping away just day after day. It's just like, girls just get a following so much easier if they're good looking. And it's just like, that's just kind of how it works. And so I think if a girl started this or did it before I did, or a girl was in my position, it would probably be even like bigger. I think it would have been harder because like, I feel like it'd be really hard for a girl just to like take the reins and go, oh, I'm gonna travel and like go on all these dates with guys, especially the backlash and everything. But there were a couple of girls there was a handful of people after I was doing the virtual dates. There was a handful of people who like tried to do 50 Dates, 50 States. They were like, oh, I'm gonna do a girl version. I'm gonna do like the LGBTQ version. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my headphone made a noise. But they tried to make a girl version or an LGBTQ version, or like I saw some guy, he like tried to do a cowboy version where he was like doing like only like cowgirls in each day. Like people were trying to do their own creative thing based on what I did, but I don't think people understand how much work it is. Like, because people saw like a viral video of mine and they're like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and it's like that. Right. It's like cool, but like. It's every single person that I like saw try, like they never did anything with. Like I saw one girl who did like a couple dates, but like then that was it. Because I mean, like you have to get like when I was going on virtual dates, I was going on like sometimes 3 or 4 dates a night, and in different time zones. Like, oh, you got Eastern time, you got Mountain time, West Coast, like you're bouncing all these time zones, and you're going on dates back to back to back, and it's like, okay, then you're recording these and cutting them up, and then you're like trying to promote them, and it just like takes like a lot out of your day, and like and especially like I was working a full-time job, and that's what like most people were doing, and so it's like, oh, working a full-time job and then trying to do 50 dates, 50 states, like you don't really have time for anything else, and so I don't think people understood that. And so they were like, oh, I like want clout and I want followers and likes and stuff. But like, there's just so much that goes into it.
Yeah. That's so true. People see the outside of it. They're like, oh, like for instance, the Yodel Walmart kid.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he got so lucky or whatever, but they didn't know he was doing that like every day.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. I know. They're like, oh, he popped in there and got famous. It's like, no, yeah, he was sitting in there like, and people were walking by him like, who is this weirdo?
Yeah.
day after day after day, and then finally, like he caught himself a break, which is like kudos to Mason Ramsey.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I think there is like somewhat of like it really, that journey and like the fact that you had to go through so many obstacles, it kind of like fades out the people that aren't as committed.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. And like in the beginning, like I think for me, I was like, I don't know, when you start something and you have a lot of eyes on you, like it's tough not to finish
Yeah.
because then people are like, oh, like quitter, or oh, he doesn't follow through
Right.
type thing. And so I just wanted to make sure I capitalized on all that. And like I received like just going back to like them, like Mason Ramsey and Walmart, right? Or like these people, like when you start something, you get like this judgmentalness, like, people, there's haters with everybody, but like, especially in the
Right.
Yeah.
beginning with most things, because people are like, oh yeah, right. Or, oh, it's dumb, or it's not going to work. And so like a lot of people like, would say that, honestly, for the most part, I received positive feedback from this. Like, I think the day I announced I was going on like a virtual date in every state, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, after I announced that I was going on a virtual date in every state, and I just announced that over Facebook and like Instagram. I didn't announce that on like TikTok.
Oh,
But
wow.
literally the next day I got a news interview. And
Oh
so it's
wow.
like, yeah. And so I was like,
That's good.
oh,
Yeah.
like, I feel like that's pretty, like, a pretty good confidence booster that this is a good idea. Like, and then
Yeah.
people were like, oh, this is amazing idea, amazing idea, amazing idea. Like, it really seemed to resonate with people. But like, again, you get those couple people who are, yipping at you about like, oh, this is stupid, or it's dumb, or like, what are you doing? You're wasting your time, or oh, so yeah, sit in your room and go on virtual dates or whatever. But like, I just like always saw the bigger picture of it, so I just kept
Yeah.
chipping
Right.
away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really inspiring too, because, like, even people as close to you as like friends, family, things like that, they
Hmm.
they may not see your vision, and you can listen to them for advice, but don't let it stop you from what you're doing. And was
Yeah.
there any point in time, not to like get too personal or anything, to where there's like some either close friends or family members that were like, hey, maybe this isn't a good idea, or maybe you should be careful of this, or things
Oh,
like that?
oops, my bad. Sorry, can you repeat that part?
Yeah, was there I guess, was there any point in time to where you had people close to you, like friends, family members, or anything like that, that kind of shied you away or gave you advice to kind of not fully pursue this?
Oh yeah, for sure. And most of the time, like especially when it came to like family or close friends, it was of like um usually it was out of a place of like love or like
Right.
concern. Like especially like I
Yeah.
remember when I called my family and I was like, "Hey guys, just to let you know, like I'm gonna quit my job and I'm going to travel to all 50 states to like do this." They were like, "Yeah, right." They were like they just
Yeah.
like at first they like did not approve, but like they because they were just like, "Wait, what? Like why are you doing this?" Like what? Like they just were like they thought my idea was good like when I was going on the virtual dates, but they didn't know I was gonna try to do this big thing. And
Right.
so they're like really hesitant and stuff. But like from a parent standpoint, like I mean, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes, and I'm like, okay, my kid who just graduated college and he has a full time job, and he's doing good. It's a good job for him. Now he wants to travel in like the middle of a pandemic in like a vehicle that's old. Like it just like that
Right.
worrisome. And so they were like, look, I don't know, like if you should do this, like are you making the right decision? Like they were very concerned. But then like once I started telling specifically like my family that like once I started answering their questions and they saw that I was prepared, that made them like a lot more relaxed.
Yeah.
They weren't just like, oh, he's just like I wasn't just like, oh, I'm gonna go travel, like and just like quit my job. I was like prepared and I was chipping away and I was working towards it.
Right.
And so I think like from the family side that helped them. When it comes to like other close friends and stuff like or family like that were had some pushback on it. Yeah, like sometimes they weren't like as supportive as I wanted them to, but at the end of the day, like not everybody's gonna be in your corner, and or some people might think it's like a dumb idea or whatever. But like you got to take things with a grain of salt. And I know everybody's got an opinion, and at the end of the day, I'm like, hey, like I'm gonna do the best I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%. And like, so at first, when you first proposed the idea, I guess the immediate people that you told were probably your parents. did they just go full like lockdown mode, like, no, not happening, you shouldn't do this, all things like that? And
Yeah,
did they
like
think it was impulsive?
yeah, like are you talking about when I to travel or just like the virtual too?
I guess when you first originally said, I think the biggest, probably the biggest shock was, oh, I'm going to quit my full-time job and
Yeah.
pursue this.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, like they were they didn't want me to quit my job because they just like they know I had went to 3.5 years of college and graduated to like in sport management to work for a team, and so
Right.
they're like,
Yeah.
oh, like you have the financial stability. You were like you're in an apartment there. Like they were really looking at it from like a professional standpoint and like kind of a society norm, right? Like, oh, you go to college,
Yeah.
you graduate, you get a full time job, and you like grow up. Like my parents are very old fashioned, and so like
Yeah.
they don't understand like TikTok and content creators and influencers, like they don't understand that. And so like, and I mean I barely did either at that point.
Yeah.
But like so I think with them, like I said, just like being prepared and everything like that helped them. And I think with this season, they like they're like at first when I ended season one, I think they were like, okay, like that was good. And like they thought it was just like that was it for me. Like they thought it was just like, oh, fun time. And
Oh
so
yeah.
once I told them like I was chipping away at like a season two and everything, I think they were concerned again because they were like, wait, like what are you trying to do? And they were like, are you just like you can't go on dates when you're 40 like this? Like they were just like
Yeah.
you can't do this year after year. And I was like, no, I agree. Like I understand that. I was like, but I laid the groundwork. I'm building the brand. Like I tried to explain to them like my mindset behind it, and they've been supportive of me, and even though they just want to make sure I'm like safe. That's like
Right.
the
Yeah.
that's like the biggest thing. Did that help answer that question?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. That was an awesome answer, and that's good to hear too, because I think there is a shift to where they're like, all right, he's gonna do this anyway. I might as
Yeah.
well, just support him,
Yep.
be there for him and do the best I can, as parents. I would just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
That's
mean, that's cool too. Were there any friends that you like also like didn't expect that would be kind of against the idea, or that like wouldn't be as supportive as possible, like as you would expect?
Yeah, there was a couple buddies where like they were like, dude, this is awesome idea, and like they were like, this is so cool and whatnot. I remember like my roommate at the time was a little like, it was weird because like my roommate at the time when I was going on virtual dates, he was like, he just like thought it was like weird.
Oh,
Why don't
really?
you like? He's like, why don't you just like play video games with me, or like, why don't we like go out to the bar or whatever, or like not the bar, but like when the bars open, because North Dakota like wasn't shut down that long, but for like
Oh,
COVID
Yeah.
and everything.
yeah.
But he's just like, oh, like why don't we like go grab a drink or like go do this, and it was like. And like I was like, well, man, I just like I have a date to go on. And he just like I think he found that like weird, which like it is kind of like it is like oh I have a virtual date to go on. Like it's not normal. I understand that,
Yeah.
but I don't think there's room to be like, or there's a reason to be like critical or judgmental about it, type thing. And so I think like, I got a little backlash from him, which I wasn't expecting. And a couple other like close friends that were, that like I just thought would be like, oh, like shoot for the stars, buddy, or like go for it type thing. Like they were just
Yeah.
like, I don't know what you're doing or why you're doing it, which is like so weird. Like, you just expect, like, if you're really good friends with someone, you just expect that support. And like I
Yeah.
remember, I remember a conversation I had with like one of my best friends. I remember a conversation I had with him. Like I heard through the grapevine that he was kind of like dogging on the whole idea. And like I'm a person. I'm like not a confrontational person, but like I think I anytime I do have a confrontation with like a friend, I'm doing it for like the betterment of them and me usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I remember like me and him were driving and I like brought it up to him. I was like, hey man, like this was brought to my attention that like you said this, and I remember I like told him like you should be just more supportive of like I wasn't like dude it's a great idea. I wasn't like trying to sell him on that. I was just saying like dude
Right.
like with your friends like you need to be like more supportive. Like that's like not like what you should do. I remember I was like, dude, you could tell me you want to be in the NBA, and I'd be like, dude, go for it. Like that's awesome. Like I'm not gonna
Right.
sit here
Yeah.
and be like, okay, like have fun. And so I just like was trying to like teach him to be like supportive in that way. So but like sometimes it sucks. Like with everything you expect people to support you in your close corner, but sometimes they're like the biggest critics.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just so unexpected, and you have to deal with that on top of doing this whole new like journey that you're going
Yeah.
on, you know?
Oh, 100%. And I think like now it's very different because now because I hate disappointing people, and
Hmm.
I think now it's very weird because I have all these expectations. Like I have to balance all these expectations from family and friends and from management and from dates and from sponsors and from followers. And so it's like
Right.
all these expectations. And so like even now I feel bad, if like a buddy calls me and I don't answer, like I see it come in but I don't answer because like I'm in the middle of something and I want to have time to talk. I don't want to just like stop what I'm doing. I'm like very busy, but I think sometimes in their head they're like, why can't you just answer, man? And I'm like, well, like I'm busy. Like I have so much to do, but that's like an expectation. And it's like
Yeah.
Yes.
because then my followers are expecting content, and it's like then sponsors are expecting like certain brand oriented stuff, and so it's just like all these expectations, which is like kind of a pressure. It's kind of like a pressure to perform, but it's part of the gig.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very good point. Just balancing all these like other expectations, because your friends want to have time with you, your family wants to have time with you, and they expect you to be at every occasion. But then you also have these other these other commitments that you have.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Yeah. And tagging along to that too is we've kind of, we want to spend time with our friends as much as possible, but we're like, we're on a grind. We have to, we went
yeah,
full in with social media and things like that. So, trying to make time for everything is tough. And, you feel like you're kind of I feel like we're kind of letting them down a little bit or not showing them as much attention. And, I feel like it may get to them a little bit, but like, how do you balance that time and make sure you show that, look, we still are friends. I'm not like neglecting you or anything like that.
Yeah, I think doing it in almost like just like little doses. So like if I can't answer that call and talk to them or I haven't talked to them in a minute, like still like shooting them a text on their birthday, or like if they see like or if I see like they accomplished something and have an accolade or graduated or whatever, like text them or give them a short call or like send them a voice message or whatever. Just like doing those things to like keep the friendship there and
yeah,
going because like I'm huge on like keeping connections. Like I never want to like ghost any of my friends and be like, oh, sorry, I'm
Right.
too busy, and like I forget about them. Like I never want it to be like that. But yeah, I think it's just like because I have friends who are like terrible communicators who like they just like they don't answer at all and they're not busy. It's stuff like that.
Right.
And so I think if it's just that balance of like whether it's friends or family, it's just talking to them, whether it's a birthday, graduation, like sending those little celebratory moments or achievements, or just saying like, "Hey, man, like, how are you?" Like I remember on the road last season, like, when we hear certain things or certain songs, like we think of certain moments or memories, and so I remember
Yes.
like a couple songs shuffled on one of my drives, and I like thought of certain people who I haven't talked to in a really long time. So I just like shot him a quick text. I'm like, hey man, like haven't talked to you in a while. I hope you're doing well. Like that's, but it just
yeah.
like that could mean like the world to them, even though we haven't talked in like a year or like 6 months or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a lesson that I think anybody can take is that when you do, it does mean a lot too. Like maybe someone needs that text for that, like that day they're having a bad day. Like as soon as I try to do that too, is like as soon as I think of someone, I want to show that, I appreciate them, that I'm thinking of them, even if it is through a text or a call or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Well, and I think it's like pretty meaningful too. Like, I mean, it's one thing
Yeah.
to hear from like your buddies every day, but like if you guys receive a text from someone you haven't heard from in like a year, you're gonna be like, "Oh, dude, that was super nice of like Joey to do that." Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's like it's like pretty meaningful and impactful that way, even though you don't talk every day.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Or like,
And kind of getting back to like, you know, your I guess your development and things throughout the start of this, do you feel like you grew and matured a ton more in just that from the beginning of that first date to the last date? Do you think there was like way more growth than ever before there?
Yeah, I think I grew a lot like on just like the business side of things of like developing a brand, like growing a following, marketing. Like I think all those things is where I grew a lot. Also like as a person, I mean like I really realized like traveling to all these different states, going on dates with all these different girls and like meeting people along the way, whether it's like sponsors, producers, like whoever. I think another thing I realized is that like we're all really not so different. Like I think that's one thing I really like to put out there is like I mean, sure you guys might have a different music taste than I do, but at the end of the day, we both like music, right? Like
Right.
we
Yeah.
like we all like music and we both like to have a good meal and we like to have a smile or hear a good joke. Like we all have that common ground. But I think sometimes that's faded away because it's like, oh, you like rock music versus like rap music, and it's like, oh, like we can't be friends or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But like, so I think traveling and getting all these different like viewpoints and meeting all these different people and like hearing their backgrounds or if they grew up in a small town, big town, like what they study in school, like all those things. I'm like, yeah, we're all different, but like we're still having a really good time right now. Like it just like there's that common ground. So I feel like that was something I learned, which has just helped with like people skills. Like I've always been a people person, but like just you know, more on top of that.
Yeah. That's interesting because yeah, you definitely got to learn a lot more about it. Like opened your eyes in a sense, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So have you always been very outgoing, or were you, a little bit of an introvert and a little bit outgoing, and then this kind of forced you to be more outgoing? Or I guess, what's your habits and how have you been and how did this change, I guess?
Yeah, so I've always been like a very like outgoing person. Like I've never been introverted like at all. I've always just been like I'll talk to a wall for 5 minutes. Like, you know, I like you know, I could talk to anybody and I really enjoy that. Like I like just communicating with people, hearing about people's lives, perspectives, like getting to know people, making connections. I think that's awesome. Which obviously like you guys can relate to really well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think this has helped with that, just like getting to because I'm just doing it. The more you do something, the better at it you get. So like, you know, and I think working for the baseball team, like you know, being the fun guy and like being on the mic in front of like the crowd of people, and like I was dressing up in like different costumes and characters and running around and throwing out T-shirts and giving free pizzas and like doing all that. So I became like this entertainer there, where it like was all my outgoingness like kind of on or like kind of live on set almost like at a baseball game. And
Okay.
Yeah.
so yeah, so like that was like really like in person, run around everything. But then like when I go on these dates and stuff, it's just like, you know, the communication or like even with families, like meeting families. I feel like it's
Oh
very
yeah.
I feel like it's very rare. Like so many of my dates will be like or like families will like compliment me on, you know, like my manners or like my communication. And to me it's like it's just like I don't really think anything of it. I'm just like, okay, but
Hmm.
like I think that's like rare for I think girls are like bringing home just like guys who aren't like, you know, who are like shy or timid or who like are awkward
Right.
around families. And I'm just like, I don't know, I just kind of it's just another person. Like to me that's just like how I view things. Like it's kind of weird. No, and like another thing with that is I think like, you know, how you were saying like, oh, have I always been this way, is like
Yeah.
in college I remember like people used to get very intimidated by like job interviews. And you know, like which like job interviews in general, they are intimidating, right? Like you get
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
butterflies and you want to, you know, get the job and land the deal or whatever. And but to me, like I always just thought of it as like I never like put uh, this hierarchy on things. Like I never was like I never went into a job interview and was like, oh, he's above me. Like he's the owner or CEO,
Right.
but he's above me. No,
Yeah.
we're both people. Like going back to what I said, like we both like to have a beer, we both like to have a good meal, like whatever it is. And just like so just talk to him like a person. You know, don't try to like sell him to like me. Just like
Yeah.
be who
Yeah.
you are, be personable, and like that's gonna go a long way. And so that's why I like didn't get too nervous going into those things, and that just was more of like my outgoingness. So I've never been introverted. That was a long drawn out answer, but yeah. But have you guys ever been like introverted at all?
I would say
I think
being twins, we naturally are a little bit more introverted.
yeah.
But we've
Really?
had to be more extroverted.
Like we used to be shy, I guess somewhat shy as kids. I mean, I kind of remember having this mental shift where it's like, okay, I'm going to be more outgoing or this extrovert that I want to be. So whether there was some level of, introvertedness, and so I guess I pushed myself into that. But yeah, I think for the most part, we might have been a little more extroverted, but I think we're, being twins and being shy kids, I think we definitely had some level of being introverts.
Yeah, I would say we're probably more introverts than extroverts. No, I'm making up words here. We're more introverts than extroverts. I would say by nature, but through we've been in sales and stuff and things like that, we've kind of had to grow that muscle a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense. See, I wouldn't have been able to tell. I would have thought you guys were like extroverts, like by like the way you talk and and reaching out and stuff. Like that's what I would have thought. That's interesting to hear.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I take that as a compliment because it's something that I've heard this thing that it is like, I guess if it's not in your nature to be an extrovert, you use a lot of energy like that, but the more you get used to it, the more comfortable you get, and it becomes, I guess, more natural in a sense.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's like anything. That's how I kind of view it. It's like, oh, if the first time I shoot a basketball, it's not like probably going to be the best, but the more I shoot, the more the odds are it's going to go in more. And so I
Right.
think
Yeah.
oh, if you're more introverted, or for people who aren't outgoing or are shy, the more you push that comfort zone, or the more you talk to people, the easier it's going to be. It's going to be tough in the beginning. That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
But the
Right.
more you do it, it's just going to be oh, you're going to look back in 5 years and be like, I was so shy, or whatever. I wouldn't have been able to do this 5 years ago,
Yeah.
or whatnot. You always hear of public speakers who are
Right.
they used to say they used to be just terrified,
Uh-huh.
shake in front of a class of 20. And now they're in
Right,
an
yeah.
auditorium of thousands of people. So it's just the
Yeah.
reps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, especially, well, yeah, you can go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say you bring up a really good point, and something that I'm sure you think of too, but something that I go through with my thought process a lot is even starting this podcast. I had to kind of think of this too. Is am I do I naturally you get kind of a pullback feeling when you have this new thing that you're trying to start up.
Mhm.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, am I feeling this because it's a bad idea? Is there something that could go really wrong? Or am I feeling this because I'm getting outside my comfort zone and this is more of a comfort reaction? Do you kind of have that feeling as well? Like when you do something new?
Yeah, for sure. And I think anytime I do something new, yeah, I think that's just natural human instinct to be oh, is this, oh, I don't know, you resist a little or have some hesitation. But yeah, I mean, I always try to challenge my comfort zone, because I think that's just I never want, and this is a kind of a dumb example, but you hear the people when you go to a restaurant, and if you guys are like this, I'm sorry, but if you guys are people who go to a restaurant only order a chicken strip basket, or
Yeah.
eat burgers. For me, I know that's a very simple example, but people who always do that, that's just what they're comfortable with, and they're just not willing to expand their palate. Where I'm why don't I try this bizarre item on the menu, or oh, they have
Yeah.
octopus, why not? I don't know, I feel that's just expanding in your comfort zone, whether it's in the simplest way or biggest way. Could you guys hear me?
Yeah.
It looks like I'm lagging a little.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we could hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
And what I was
Okay.
going to say, I mean, you're exactly right. And what I was going to say is kind of as you start doing these different things that challenge you, you kind of start enjoying and looking for these challenges. I don't know why, but I always wanted to learn about public speaking and things like that. So it's you look for these challenges as you continue to do them.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, right? The law of attraction. So like
Yeah.
the more you like look into the public speaking stuff, the more you're gonna like see stuff about it. Or like have you guys ever noticed this? Like I don't know, this happens to me, and then I heard somebody say it the other day, and it's nuts. Like have you ever guys had like a friend drive like a certain car, and then all of a sudden you feel like you start seeing that car around town more?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
Like it's
definitely.
just because like it's I don't know, like you have that like I don't know, like subconsciously, like you know that, or you correlate that car with your friend, and so you just like see it more, or you pay attention to it, and so it's like
Right.
same
Yeah.
with you're learning about public speaking. It's like you'll find out different things about it, or you'll see this, or you'll seek this out. And so yeah, I just like
Right.
when it comes to pushing your comfort zone, like because at the end of the, I mean, I think it's cool, and not, and I mean, this is no, if you are this way or you aren't, it's not like right or wrong. But
Right.
for
Mhm.
me, I think like at the end of the day, you could be like, I did this, like I did all these things instead of just like, oh, I did this one thing really good. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, like that's just kind of how I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Just expanding and really getting the most out of every situation, really. I think
Yeah,
what it comes down to. Like
absolutely.
don't let fear like stop you from doing what interests you, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And to that point, it's like whatever you think about grows too. So it's like if you're gonna be focused on the fears and everything, you're just gonna be so terrified in this, little box that you put yourself in that probably isn't, necessarily real.
Yeah, exactly. You couldn't be more right. Yeah, as soon as you like start thinking like fearful or you think it's not going to go well, like if you just, I mean, we've all been like we've all sat alone with our thoughts before, and we just like go
Yeah.
down the
Hmm.
wormhole. We're like, oh God,
Yeah.
and but like so the more you do that, the more hesitant you're going to be. But if you just jump, you just take that jump or like roll the dice, like I was saying, like it's I think that's the way to go about it. As long take risks, but like takes like I mean you want to take smart risks, but not all
Right.
Yeah.
risks I mean all risks you take you don't know if it's going to be smart. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
like don't go down a dark alley at night at 2 a.m. Like don't do that for a risk. but like
Yeah.
if you want to like try to start a business or grow a brand or put out a video or try a new food or go skydiving or whatever it is, like try that out.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Take calculated risks, but
Yeah,
also follow your gut.
yeah, that was the best way to put it. Absolutely.
No, I think the alley is a good
It's a good analogy.
yeah, it is. No, but
Hell
you're
yeah.
absolutely right. I think like there's a difference between someone saying something's realistic and like, using that as a way to kind of talk themselves out of it, or like if it's not, be realistic. Like for example, your story here, just even starting this, they're probably like, be realistic. How many girls want to go on a date with a complete stranger or something like that? They
Yeah.
they may say something like that, and you're like, oh, that makes sense, but you can't just let that get in your way, right?
100%. And the number one word I hate the word realistic. Like I
Same.
hate that word so much
Me
because
too.
it's just like because I mean like everything that somebody starts is like unrealistic, right? It's like I
Exactly.
mean like
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos had a bookstore in his mom's garage and it like
Yeah.
turned into Amazon. Like that's unrealistic. It's like all these unrealistic things actually become true. So I like hate hearing that word. And it's like I remember I heard something the other day, but it's like like kids in school, like it's like, oh, like write down what you want to be, or like and like so many kids like they'll write down like something just huge because like kids have like such a
Yeah.
big imagination and like they haven't really experienced life, so they just like are so optimistic and like have big dreams. And then all
Right.
of a sudden like
Hmm.
this teacher will be like, oh, put down something like realistic, come on, like
Yeah.
you don't need to be a movie star, you don't need to be whatever it is, like
Yeah.
put something down that you can actually accomplish. And that kid's like, oh, like it just like fills him with self
Yeah.
doubt right there. It's like what? So yeah, I think like I don't know, be different. Like I'm huge on that. Like be
Yeah.
different. Like
Right.
be a trendsetter. Like I don't know. Like I mean everybody follows trends or the styles or what everybody else is doing. But my favorite quote of all time. My favorite quote of all time is oh, how's it go? I'm like losing it on the spot. It's my favorite quote. It's we idolize everyone, or no, everybody tries so hard to fit in, but yet we idolize the ones most who stand out. That's like
Yeah,
Oh,
that's like so good. Like it's so true. Like right? Like so why try to fit in when you could do something different, stand out? And yeah, you're gonna get like a lot more backlash because it's not easy. That's why not everybody does it. But it's so much more rewarding.
yeah, absolutely. And like, kind of to that point is, I guess my favorite quote is, "No one knows enough to be a pessimist." Like, we really
Great.
don't know like how it's gonna turn out. Like, and if you do, you gotta like kind of check yourself a little bit and be like, okay, well, it's not gonna be that bad. It can't possibly be that bad. Like, I don't know enough to know the outcome of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and like my old boss used to tell me like when I would like come up with like games or skits or dances or whatever for like the on the field activities for the baseball team, like my old boss used to tell me he used to say no idea is a bad idea because what happens is like even if it's like not that good of an idea, you could take it and it goes through the idea spectrum and it's like okay, like that made us
Right.
think of this
Yeah.
or we'll take a part of that and make it this or oh we'll take that sound used here and we'll apply it to this or oh, we'll take those costumes, make it, and it just like goes all over. And then we think of this to this to this, and so that's just with anything, right? Like what you were just saying, you
Yeah.
know, it's like, oh, whether it's a creating content or a clothing brand or a business, it's like, okay, you know, we could do this. Oh, but actually, wow, like we should turn it to this, and then it just like, and then you start getting really creative and passionate, and that's where it's
yes.
fun,
Yeah.
you know.
Like how many? Yeah, exactly. Like how many inventions or things have been brought about by like accidents or mistakes? You know?
Right, 100%.
Yeah, no, and I don't know if I heard this somewhere or if, just through the words of people describing it, it kind of came together. Like to your point, there's no such thing as a bad idea. There's just underdeveloped ideas. So,
Great.
everything could be a great idea. Like the fact that like someone could come up with something and it just gets like maybe, it's not the thing you want to pursue at that moment, but it's like something that you mentioned that just didn't happen yet. Like imagine if all those ideas that you had like got fully developed and how far far ahead of a society we would be with that.
Oh, right. Like it's crazy. It would be nuts. But like yeah, people just talk themselves out of it. And like and I think another thing too is like I think money really like scares people away. I think like that's like one of the first things people think about. They're like, "Oh, I don't have money to do it." Or "Oh, I don't have money
Yeah.
to start this." Right? But like nobody does. Like no, like and let okay, I shouldn't say that.
Right.
Like you know, like I mean these billionaires if they want to start something they can do it like, you know,
Yeah.
tomorrow. But like but I
Right.
mean like for the common man or common girl, like, you know, your everyday person, if they think of something like they're not going to just have everything at their disposal. Like you have to do it and like a lot of successful people say like just chip away and like the money will come,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. No, is big of a hurdle as it seems like, it's I think money is the easiest problem to fix. As big of a hurdle like starting out and everything as it seems like it feels like it just kind of comes to whatever you like need it for, really.
Yeah. I
especially
completely
in
agree.
our especially like in our like I guess was it first world or whatever it is. Like I get it when it like comes to like other severe and primal instinct and all that stuff, but as
Yeah.
far as like us, there is abundance, and especially America.
100%.
But you did mention something a while ago that I do want to get back to a little bit. Was there like how does it go when you have to meet the girl for the first time on dates? Like do parents usually want to be a part of that like when you first meet them, or like what's that like?
You know, it depended on where the girl was a lot of the time. Like if a girl was like in her college town, then like sometimes her parents weren't there and stuff. But like
Right.
if she was back home and like her parents were around, like usually the parents like always wanted to meet me. Like they were like, and it wasn't like it was more out of like curiosity than it was like
Yeah.
concern. It was
Okay.
like, oh, like we want to see the truck or like be cool if like you introduced us to Matt type thing. It wasn't like, hey, let's check this guy out before you go on a date or anything. And I think like for parents, like I mean, I this is gonna like sound bad, but like if I was trying to like pull something or I was like a sketchy person, like I wouldn't have a profile picture, I wouldn't have a website.
Right.
Like, you know, like if you want to know where I am, you just have to pull up your phone and you're like, oh, hey officer, he's in New Hampshire, like get him, you know, type thing. And so like, you know, I'm not like, I just like, I'm promoting stuff on social media all the time, and so like I'm very trackable and stuff. So I think that like gives like parents and people like that reassurance of like, oh, like my daughter's in good hands, and like as long as she's comfortable being on camera or whatever. But like meeting families was awesome. Like I love that. Like you get that, like I was saying with my dates, you get all these different personalities, but same with families. You get these different backgrounds, and some families are like, some families like love to booze, and other families are like, you know, really, really reserved, or, you know, it's fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's awesome to hear too, because I'm always curious about like what that's like and things like that. But yeah, maybe maybe you do like a little Santa tracker type thing going too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, for season 2, I'm working with my buddy who helps me with my website, and I want like on the website like some sort of like a live tracker map where it's not like, you know, my exact spots where it's like, oh,
yeah, that'd be dangerous.
He's in hotel room 316. You know, but but like, oh, he's in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, or he's in Orlando, like, you know, like stuff like that. I think like, you know, would be playful, but it's interesting. I had a couple times like on season 1 where like I would be live on TikTok, and like people knew where I was based on my live, and like I remember this, it happened 3 times, but one time that really stood out. I was in Virginia, and I was on live, and I was just like, you know, in my truck, like you can't really see anything, but like I was like, oh, I'm in Virginia, and people were like, oh, where you at and stuff, and I'm like, oh, I'm just like in an empty parking lot right now, just wrapped up with my date, but I'm just like figured I'd get on live here for a sec and update you guys and stuff. And probably like 15 minutes later, like this kid pulls up in a car, and he's like, oh my gosh, he's like, when you said you were in a big parking lot, like I went to different ones, and then I knew this had to be the one. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, I'm like, what? Like, if someone said they were in a parking lot, I feel like that's like there's so many, you know, there's a million of them. And so like I was like, oh, that's sketch. So I gotta like be careful of how I have a tracker, you know, and everything.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with that, because even with us, like there's some times where we're like, okay, we need to dial this back, or not tell anyone, like when you're like going somewhere to like a mass audience, like tell them after, because you never know if someone's just gonna show up. Like it's just a thing that happens.
Yeah, 100%. Now, honestly, like if I'm being 100% honest, I think it would be so cool, like if this thing grew and literally like driving the car around, if people were just like flooding to it, it would probably get annoying, but like, I mean, it would just be sweet. Like if people were just like, oh my gosh, like there's the 50 Days, 50 States car, guy, girl, whoever, like, and just like running, taking pictures of it, stuff like, because like, I mean, and that's like driving the car is so amazing that way, because like it does get a lot of eyes and looks and people taking pictures or waving or honking and all that stuff, which is a really cool part of it.
Yeah. So do you have do you have your logo and everything on the outside of the truck?
Yeah, so I have did you guys see the new vehicle, like the car I have now?
I don't think so. I don't think I did see it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, so I actually have a 2021 Dodge Challenger now. And that has the logo on it and everything, which is awesome. It's a 100% bigger upgrade than my truck.
Yeah.
But the truck, you know, I had the logo on it, and like it was very eye appealing, because people, you know, they see that, and it's not like a plumbing company. It's like interesting. It's like, oh, like 50 dates, 50 states. What is that? So, you know, I like gets a lot of eyes and looks. But
That's
now
true,
in the car, it gets like just 30 times the looks, because it's like a sportier, nicer car. So even without the wrap, it's getting looks, and now with the wrap, it's getting even more. So like I get looks all the time, and it's just great exposure. Like I don't understand why people don't invest in something like that more. Like why don't you take like my truck wrap, for example? My truck wrap was $5,000. Now that's pricey, but what if you're like, you know, putting in marketing dollars to your business, depending on what your business is, like why wouldn't you rather like have something on your car just like out in public all the time, or spend 5 grand on like a billboard where it's like it shuffles through, or it's there a little bit, or a radio ad that's played here and there. Like
Right.
I don't know, like I don't know. For me, it's like, oh, the longevity of like a car wrap. Now it depends on the business, of course, but like I feel like it's just very valuable that a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to ask, but you don't have to give us the answer. Was that part of a company that kind of contributed to that car, like to allow you to be able to drive a nice, a good car to get around, make sure it doesn't.
That'd be good marketing for them if that was.
Oh yeah, like basically, oh, did like I have some ties with the company to have that help out or something?
Yeah, like a dealership or anything like that that has helped out with getting that car, the new car.
Yes, actually no. Very unfortunate because like I tried really hard for Ford because I on the Ford,
Yeah.
and so like I really and Ford someone from TikTok or someone from TikTok, the automotive industry, had reached out to me before, and then Ford was interested in doing season 2, and I never really I like followed up and talked with them. I never really heard much, and I was with that, but then I just management and me worked on. There was never dealership or sponsor. I mean, it's a Dodge car, but there was nothing with Dodge or anything like that.
Oh,
It was
okay.
just, yeah. So, but we're hoping that during the season, like Dodge sees all the exposure it's getting with the car, and like Dodge will reach out or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I think too, I don't know how much of a, like because if you do have a car like that you either already have for this new season, or like a sports car like that, it does kind of add more of a personal touch than me thinking of like transportation wise going through in one of those Mercedes van. What are those? I forget what those are called.
The Mercedes Benz,
They're it's like a
Like Sprinter van.
Sprinter van. Yeah, like
oh,
the nice
yeah,
ones.
yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah, and it's very weird because like whatever vehicle you drive, it's kind of like the image it puts out. Like if I drove around a Sprinter van, it's like it almost gives off the image of like, oh, this like recreational like travel like type thing.
Yeah.
In a sporty car, it's almost like, oh, look at this bachelor. Like, look at this bachelor driving around with like girls in this car. It's almost like a different image type thing.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So I really like the sport car effect, and I mean my truck. I don't really know what you'd say with that. Just like, oh, he's rolling with what he's got probably. he's on it.
Yeah. Maybe soon enough they'll a limo will start being part of it.
Hey, there we go. Yeah, I always thought it was pretty interesting. There was like a tour bus type thing where so like, oh, you tour bus rented out, but then get hotel. It's just, oh, this tour bus like just like comes in. But the only problem with that is like you either have to have like a car following or something, but we have a car. So it's like, okay, have a car following or something, but like I don't know, like so some sort of tour bus would be cool, like for the hospitality things, like opening in it and stop as much. Not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking that too. I was going to ask you about that, if like a tour bus was in the picture or anything like that, because that would be a good idea. But it like you said, you still have to have that car falling behind, and you always have to have that because that is important. It's it's you and the date. It's not this whole thing, right?
Yeah, 100%. You know what? This is actually really funny. I remember something that I had pitched to my first production team that I worked with, like the ones who wanted to do the virtual dating route or whatever. When they were like, oh, like we want to do it virtual dating, and like that didn't really work out. I was like, well, they're like, all right, well, how about think of some ideas on how it could go. And so I thought of this idea, thought it was awesome. And basically you would take, so what I thought, like, there'd be 2 tour buses and I'd be on one, like by myself. And then the other one, and it would have like, room for 5 people to sleep. Like it'd be like, a good sized one or whatever, kind of like a luxurious
Right.
one. And we take these and we travel to all 50 states, and I do 10 states at a time. And it's 50 dates, 50 states, but I do 10 states at a time. And so the first 10, I go on these dates and I pick my 5 favorites. And those 5 get on a bus and go with me and go to the next 10. And then in the next, and I take 5 girls from that and I put them on a separate bus. So now we have 3 buses, and it's me on one, and then 5 girls on one, 5 girls on another. And then we go to the remaining 30 states, and I'm like going on dates and stuff. And then I could start swapping girls out on the buses, but I could only have 10 girls total, like following. And I thought that was like so interesting, like a fun, like dramatic tie, because think about it, like these girls are starting to get comfortable with each other, like living on this bus. But then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I take 3 of them and I switch them out with a new 3 because I like these 3 better. And it's like, it would just be this like crazy, like bizarre, like dating thing. I mean, there was so much more to like outline with it, but I thought that was like kind of a funny, creative, like concept to it in a way.
That would be a really good idea.
That's
and
funny.
you would definitely need to have cameras in all of the buses.
Oh yeah. That would be like if it was like an MTV type like show.
Yes.
But I was like, that would be like very interesting. Just like all these girls like creating this friendship while I'm going on dates, and then like when I'm pulling up to a new date, like they're all looking out the window like, oh, what's she wearing? Oh, look at her, like type of thing. Or oh, I wonder if she's getting like. I just feel like it would be very funny if you created it in like a really good way, or like produced it in a good way.
Yeah. Like
That's such a good aspect.
My first thing is like, how would they get home? Would you just like the thing I'm picturing is just like on the side of a highway, just like drop them off? Like
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, honestly, probably just get out and start walking. Like I think it would just be so interesting to like because a lot of dating shows have like a certain aim they take to it, or not. I shouldn't say shows, but like, or yeah, dating or love shows. But like
Right.
like Love Is Blind, for example. It's like, oh, are you willing to like not see what they look like the physical attraction, to like fall in love? And so I think like a frame of like a way to frame that one I just talked about with the tour bus is like, are you willing to give up like your own comfort to be the winner, or like be the favorite type thing? It's like, because you're in these tour buses with like all these other girls, and you might get switched off, and you might have like whatever it is, like it's probably not going to be the most comfortable, but like I just thought it would be really funny. Or like, what if my bus broke down and I had to stay the night on one of the buses? Like like that would just be like super interesting and fun.
Yeah, I like that a lot, because I think it's adds a whole nother dimension. Like there's so much more to do with that.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, and it's just like that's like I feel like that is like the Hollywood crazy wild way, where like this is like the more like like this is the more like shape like grounded. That would take like talk about tour buses and cameras thing.
Yeah. No, I think if it ever gets boring, put that idea into effect, and you'll get a whole new audience.
Yeah, Survivor mixed with a dating show.
Yeah.
But I did want to just to kind of like close it up a little bit here, because we don't want to take up too much of your time here. What for this next season? Were there a lot of like travel companies and things like that were more willing to kind of work with you and make it a lot easier for this new season to make it smooth?
Yeah, like to be honest, not really. Like I just like there hasn't been a lot of companies that like there's been like the one-off companies and stuff, and like there's been a handful of like sponsors that I had last season, but hasn't been any like it's mainly just been like local interest like in certain towns that we're going to. Not like a lot of like big corporation type things where it's like, oh, a big travel company or a big automotive industry or dealership or something like that. Like it's been more so like, oh, the local ma and pa restaurant like knows we're gonna come in, like that's awesome. Or oh, the trampoline park in town, they're like, oh, cool, like you and her are gonna be awesome, like we'd love to have you type thing. Like it's been more so like it's been more so like those little things instead of the big one. But I think the big ones will like continue to maybe show interest because like I've had like big ones like interested, like I was saying with Ford, but in like Ford and Tinder and stuff like that have like been interested, but there just haven't
Right.
been the right fit. And so I think moving forward, just more and more will come in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so too. Yeah. As it grows too.
Yeah,
yeah,
for
definitely,
sure.
definitely during this next season, I think you're gonna get a lot more attention because I
Oh
think
yeah,
just as a viewer too, for the first season, like I definitely heard of you, saw some videos and stuff, but it wasn't, from just a general audience like perspective, it wasn't something that had like a crazy amount of attention shown on it.
yeah.
But now I think with that momentum that you have from last season coming to this season and all the, you're going to be able to put a lot more out there as well. I
Yeah,
think it will be.
absolutely. Like I agree. Like last season, I mean, like I didn't like really prioritize like YouTube or anything. Like I just kind of went into TikTok and like Instagram and whatnot. And like I didn't really know a lot. Like I was just like kind of learning the whole time. And so I think now with just like my experience and like laying that groundwork, like I said, and like having the knowledge I now, like I'm no expert, but I just have like some experience. Um, I think like I'll really be able to take it to the next level along with like the my management team that I'm working with and just like
Yeah.
with having a videographer and like I just think it'll really I think this season will really take it to a bigger point, which I'm super excited about.
I think so
Yeah.
too. And I guess I saw a video, actually, it might have been yesterday, that you said like going off for 6 months, you don't realize or like how much you have to pack or what to pack. Like
Yeah. I
take
was
us
wondering
through
that.
that a little bit here. Like,
Yeah. Oh man, dude, packing is like nuts because it's like, well, I mean, one, it's different because like my car's smaller. Like my truck, I
Yeah.
could just pile in like all kinds of stuff because I have like just a lot of room. And but like with the car, it's like really downstairs, and I have another person with me. So and he has like his camera equipment and stuff. So I really have to have that right balance. And I'm like, oh man, like so I just feel like I packed like, you know, a lot of clothes, like mainly clothes, obviously, and then like, like my computer and phone and chargers and headphones and tablet and like, but other than that, yeah, just mainly like just a ton of different clothes, all kinds of different pants and collared shirts and like try to wear like stuff because that's like, I'm not gonna wear like, a bunch of like hoodies on dates,
Right.
yeah.
but like stuff that's like maybe like business casual and stuff, but also relaxed. Just so literally like everything, just so much.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's a lot that like packing by itself is tough, even for like a 1 week trip somewhere,
Yeah.
because there's so many things that you're trying to think of and occasions and things like that. Is
Yeah.
there anything like that you didn't pack that was essential, or something that you didn't realize like, oh, I may need this more than I thought I did, or
Like now or during season one?
let's go during season 1 and then
Okay.
now.
Well, now I don't think I think now I'm like, oh, I think I packed everything, but I'm sure once a couple states in, I'll be like, oh, dang it, I forgot this. Um,
Yeah.
Season one, I feel like I honestly feel like there was nothing like crucial that I like didn't that I didn't pack. And if like there was something like
Right.
tedious that I didn't have, I would just buy it. But like I
Yeah.
feel like there
Yeah.
was never something like really drastic where I was like, oh dang, like I that's home. And, but it's very interesting to like, I mean, constantly just like getting out of a suitcase, hotels and like doing hotel sweeps of like you don't leave any charger or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mail interesting last year, like mail it to my date, pick it up like my date. It's very interesting. So it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That is pretty funny because 6 months at a time, I have a hard time planning like 1 week or two
Oh
weeks
my
ahead.
gosh. Yeah. I can't even pack like for 3 days.
I can't imagine 6 months.
No, you just kind of roll with it. You're just like, oh, I guess we'll try our best with what we got, and yeah, just kind of roll with the punches.
Yeah. I think that's another thing. Like, have you found that you've been able to just kind of let go and be more spontaneous after doing something so like out there and you have to go on the fly?
Oh, 100%. I'm huge on like not taking things too seriously. Like obviously being like serious about stuff when it needs to be or whatever, but like I mean, I don't know, life's too short to like worry about the little things or get too stressed
right.
out or like, whatever it is. So yeah, I think for me, I'm just like I don't try to work myself up. Like there's bigger problems, if I forget my iPhone charger in a hotel room, or if
Right.
I forgot
Yeah.
if I forgot to pack a pair of jeans, I might I'll be like, ah, dang it, and like, slap myself for it. But like I'm like, oh, that's whatever. Like it could be worse. Like I always am like the car could break down. Like TikTok could delete your account. Like whatever.
Yeah.
Like there could be things that are like way worse, and it's like, oh dang, But yeah, so I just go with the flow, and I'm like, I won't take things too serious.
Yeah. And I did have also another question. I think this may be the last one that I definitely wanted to know. Do you have a like pre-date ritual or anything that you do like to get yourself like ready and psyched up for it?
That's a great question. That's a good question. Like I did put up a TikTok the other day about like I was joking around about like taking a shot before going on a date,
Yeah.
like something like that. But like I really don't do that. I just did that for funny content purposes.
Yeah.
I know like so many of my dates, like girls do that. Like so many of my dates have like said they'll take like a shot before a date because like or a couple because it just like helps their nerves and calm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I don't really have any. I'm really glad you brought that up because now before I start the season, I kind of want to start something like a pre-date
Yeah.
ritual. But like I don't really have any sort of like I think like if you would say anything, it's more like I'm a religious guy, so like I say my prayer at like night. I'll be like oh like
Right.
pray for a good date tomorrow type thing.
Yeah.
I pray that
Yeah.
everything goes well or like stuff
Right.
like that. But in terms of just like like a tedious thing, no. But I'm going to now that you said that, I'm 100% going to. I'm gonna do something because that would be good content too. Like before every single date,
Yeah.
I did something. I like
Yeah.
that.
That would be that would be interesting.
Yeah.
And I'd like to hear it. Definitely let us know if you do start something.
Yeah.
100%. So love.
And Cody, did you have any more questions? Like
Let's see.
essential questions.
Nothing essential. They would just be yeah.
But did you have anything else that you wanted to mention while you're on here too, Matt?
I like to tell people for season 2 and like see your states when I like people. I always encourage people to go to like dates.com where that's where they can check out social media or look at old news interviews I've got or like podcasts I've been on, stuff like that, and check out more about it so then they can stay tuned for when I'll be in their state, where I'm at, what I'm up to, all that stuff. But that's kind of all I had on the side of 50 dates with these state stuff. But I wanted to thank you guys for letting me come on and reaching out. Like, it was great talking with you guys here today. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Likewise. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, this has been an awesome podcast. It was like, you never know how or like what you're going to talk about or things like that before you start it. But this has been, we talked about like a ton of like awesome stuff, a ton of stuff that I feel like a lot of people wonder too. This has been truly awesome. We got to know you better as well. And you seem like an awesome person too. So this has been awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks guys. Yeah, I think we low key solved some of the world's problems on this podcast.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. But we would love to have you on at the end of next season too, because I think that would be a good place to kind of put a next marker to talk again.
Yeah, it comes full circle. Yeah. I'm all for it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been truly awesome. We went over 2 hours, so it's been super entertaining for us. I know it's going to be entertaining for everyone else when we put this out as well.
It's awesome. Well, yeah, and I've been entertained by this. Like, you guys are great at this, and I love the questions you guys asked, and your guys' character and everything. So again, I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks guys for listening. Of course, thank you. Is it Matt or Matthew, by the way? I don't.
Whatever you prefer.
Okay. Well, thank you, Matthew, for coming on here because, it's hard to make schedules match up and line up, especially when you're getting ready for a new season. So we really appreciate that. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. And until next time, we'll see you guys.